Hello everyone, my name is Jumbo Pancake, and today I'm going to be showing you a modification that can be done to old N-Strike 18-round magazines. If you've ever gone thrifting, you've most likely come across these. They look like newer 18-round magazines, but they have some stickers on them that say 18 max, and the bottom design is slightly different. You can get them for really cheap. I got this one for $3 at Goodwill. I think 18-round magazines new are about $10 or $11. These magazines do work in newer blasters, just not as well as newer magazines. The main issue is that their profile is thinner, so they wiggle around inside the magazine well, and in blasters with a pusher like the Strife, the pusher hits against the inside of the magazine and sounds like this. This can cause rate of fire issues and possibly even damage your blaster, so it's just not a very good thing. On the other hand, newer magazines like this 6-rounder work beautifully inside a Strife. They have nothing hits inside at all. They sound very smooth. However, 6-round magazines are kind of worthless, and we all have a lot of them because Hasbro likes to package their blasters with the smallest capacity they can. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the smoothness of a 6-round magazine and the capacity of these old 18-round magazines, and we're going to fuse them together so that we get a nice, smooth, high-capacity magazine. The way we're going to accomplish this is by cutting the 18-round magazine right above this ridge and the 6-round magazine right below this ridge. We'll use the ridges to help line up the magazines when we glue them later. You can also cut the 18-round magazine higher up if you want to increase the capacity. I'm going to leave mine at 18, but it's up to you. Now, I will warn you right off the bat, doing this modification can sometimes cause more jamming issues. Because the 6-round magazine is wider on the inside than the 18-round magazine, the pusher in the magazine can sometimes get caught up, which will obviously cause a jam. Personally, I think it's worth it because when I'm firing, I want the trigger pull to be smooth, but you'll have to make that decision for yourself. For this mod, you will need an 18-round magazine, a 6-round magazine, a Phillips head screwdriver, a hacksaw or a jigsaw, some sort of saw that can cut through plastic, and an adhesive. I'm using hot glue because it's cheap and I have a lot of it, but if you have something stronger, that'll work too. The first step is to make it so that we can cut into the magazines without hitting the internal spring. The first thing you're going to do is remove these 2 screws on the 6-round magazine. After you've done that, pry the shell open on the bottom and take your screwdriver and stick it in there and try to pull out the spring. It's going to be held on this nub on this side. Once you've loosened it, you can simply pull it out. Now we're going to work on the 18. Take your magazine and something long and thin like a ruler and push the magazine pusher down to the bottom with the ruler. Then with your other hand, take your screw and put it into one of these little slots here. Now you can remove the ruler and the pusher should stay down. Now we can cut. Take your hacksaw and one of the magazines. I'm going to cut the 6-round first. So, remember on the 6-round, we're cutting below the ridge here. So, making sure that the pusher stays on the top end so that we don't cut into it, place your hacksaw just along the ridge and try to line it up as best you can. Now, just start sawing back and forth until you get all the way through. Make sure you stay as close to this line as possible for the straightest cut. Once you've cut all the way through, check to make sure that you cut nicely along the line, and do the same thing for the 18-round mag, just above the ridge. After you've cut both magazines, the 6-round below the ledge and the 18 above the ledge, you'll need to clean up the edges because cutting with a hacksaw leaves a lot of residue, and I actually didn't cut perfectly straight on this magazine, so take some sandpaper and maybe a utility knife and just clean these up. Make them nice and smooth so that the magazine will feed smoothly after. After you've cleaned up the 18 round, you can take out the screw that was explosive. And just make sure it feeds well. If it doesn't, you'll probably need to do more cleaning. You'll also want to try to just blow out any of the dust from the magazine that may have ended up inside there. It doesn't need to be perfect because you won't be seeing it, but it might help with feeding. Once you've cleaned up both magazines nicely, just ensure that the pusher fits into the 6th round. So just put the pusher back into the 18, roughly line up the 6th round with the 18, and if it snaps in, then it fits. Now we just need to glue it together. When gluing, obviously the most important thing is to make sure that the magazines line up as best we can so that the pusher feeds smoothly throughout the entire magazine. So you're going to want to just kind of fiddle with the two halves and put them together so that it feeds smoothly. There are a few points of reference you can use. One are the lines running vertically up and down the magazines. Another are these two lines on the sides, and also these lines running down the center. Using all of those and your ruler, just kind of fiddle with the magazine, pushing the internal pusher up and down until you kind of find an equilibrium where it feeds pretty consistently. After you've found a balance, hold the two magazines together with one hand, and with the other hand take your hot glue gun and just run some hot glue into the seam. To start, just do it on one side, while keeping your other hand firm, so that way you make sure that the magazines stay the way they were when you were testing. Once this glue dries, you can let go with this hand and go around the rest of the magazine with your hot glue, and then it should be done. Check one last time to make sure it feeds with your ruler. And it does. We now have a functional 18-round magazine. You can also see that we don't have the wobble or the clicking sounds from earlier. There's very little wobble, which is normal, but not nearly as much as before, and the trigger pull is very smooth. Now I'll just load it up and show you some firing. So that is how to, in my opinion, upgrade old N-Strike 18-round magazines. Again, they're not as reliable as new store-bought magazines, so if you're looking for pure reliability, these probably aren't for you. But for non-competitive nerfing or just around the house, I think they work pretty well. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to put them in the comment box down below, and thank you for watching.